Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The US has recorded its largest single-day jump in infections since the start of the pandemic, with more than 53,000 cases reported in just 24 hours. The number is a new global record for the coronavirus pandemic. According to the World Health Organization, the global number of infections has now reached more than 10.5 million. The two main clusters have been reported in Florida and California, where Los Angeles is seeing what experts are calling an explosion in the number of cases. Meanwhile, Latin America has reported more than 2.7 million cases, while the World Bank is warning that in the South American continent, the recession will see the worst downturn since reliable data began in 1901. And India has reached a new record number of daily infections, with more than 20,000 cases reported for the first time since the pandemic reached the country. The southern states of Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu are among the worst affected areas. The country could soon overtake Russia to have the third highest number of infections in the world. China has appointed a new hardline figure as head of its new security agency in Hong Kong. Zhang Yanxiong will be the head of the agency, which will answer directly to Beijing. The agency is being set up to enforce a new draconian security law passed this week in Hong Kong. In response to the new law, Hong Kong pro-democracy activists are discussing a plan to create an unofficial parliament in exile. According to the activists, this would be to keep the flame of freedom alive and send a message to China that freedom cannot be crushed. 20 Saudi nationals have gone on trial in absentia in Turkey over the murder of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The writer, who was a vocal critic of Saudi Arabia's powerful crown prince Mohammed bin Salman, was killed inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul in October 2018. Saudi Arabia carried out a separate trial over the killing that was heavily criticised as incomplete. Turkish prosecutors accused the former deputy head of Saudi intelligence, Ahmed al-Asiri, and the royal court's media advisor, Saud al-Qahtani, of having led the operation. Almost 200 workers have been caught up in a series of explosions at a fireworks factory in northwest Turkey that has left at least 2 people dead. The blaze was ignited by a powerful initial blast in what was described as an industrial accident. It was not immediately clear what triggered the explosions, which were heard as far away as 50 kilometres. The French Prime Minister Edouard Philippe has resigned ahead of a government reshuffle by President Emmanuel Macron. Experts argue the president acted on a pledge to reinvent his administration and win back disillusioned voters ahead of a possible re-election bid in 2022. Macron is reshaping his government as France grapples with the deepest economic depression since World War II, a sharp downturn that will shrink the economy by about 11% in 2020. A new UN report has found that the world dumped a record 53.6 million tonnes of electronic waste last year and recycled only 17.4%. The global E-Waste Monitor 2020 report found that China, India and the United States were by far the biggest contributors to e-waste, holding almost 40% of the global production. According to the report, the overall damage done to the environment from all the unrecycled waste may be incalculable, but it estimated that almost 100 million tonnes of carbon dioxide waste was released into the atmosphere last year alone. Botswana is investigating the deaths of hundreds of elephants which have died in mysterious circumstances. Poaching has been ruled out as the carcasses were found intact. Government figures put the elephant death toll at 275, but National Park Rescue reported a number higher than 400. Africa's overall elephant population is declining due to heavy poaching, but Botswana has seen numbers growing in recent decades. Doctors treating COVID-19 patients in Sierra Leone have gone on strike over unpaid bonuses, leaving patients in some of the main treatment centres without care. The strike masks an escalation in a row between doctors and government over what doctors say is a misuse of funds for the coronavirus response in the country and a lack of protection and compensation for health workers. Doctors say they were promised hazard pay for their work during the outbreak, but that pay has not materialised. And finally, daring Sri Lankan tuk-tuk drivers have put their 3-wheeled vehicles to the test in a gruelling race through the city streets and off-road jungle terrain in the annual Tuk-it race. The race lasts 2 days and has attracted 237 teams of 3 people, despite the current coronavirus pandemic. The crews completed a tough 140-kilometre-long route that took them through a spectacular obstacle course, the Sri Lankan jungle and various cities along the way. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.